Every miracle Jesus performed, the hidden pattern nobody told you about. Picture a man lying on a stone floor in the city of Jerusalem. He has been lying on that floor, or one very much like it, for 38 years. His mat is thin. His bones ache in ways that have long since stopped feeling like pain and started feeling like weather. Around him, hundreds of other people lie on their own mats, blind, lame, bleeding, waiting. They are all waiting beside the same pool. The pool is called Bethesda, which means house of mercy, which is either the cruelest joke anyone ever made or the most stubborn act of faith. And on an ordinary day, a Sabbath no less, a man walks through the crowd and stops in front of this forgotten figure on the floor. The man asks a question that sounds almost absurd. Do you want to be well? 38 years. And the answer is not simple. We will come back to that question because buried inside it is the key to everything Jesus ever did. This is not a video about magic tricks. This is not a video about debate points for skeptics. This is not a video about a list of superpowers checked off a scroll. This is a video about a pattern, a hidden, deliberate, breathtaking pattern running through every single miracle Jesus performed, from Cana to Calvary, that tells us something about the nature of God that no sermon in 2,000 years has ever quite said out loud. Stay with me. Before we go further, let me tell you what we are going to see. Jesus performed miracles in every category of human suffering. He healed bodies broken by disease. He restored minds shattered by darkness. He fed crowds who had nothing. He stilled storms that should have killed everyone. He raised people from the dead, and in every single category, not some of them, not most of them, in every single category, you will find the same fingerprint. You will find someone overlooked. You will find a touch nobody else would give. You will find words spoken to the person first, not about the person. And you will find something asked of the recipient that goes far deeper than the physical need in front of Jesus at the time. That is the pattern. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Let us start at the beginning. Not the beginning of Jesus' ministry, but the beginning of his miracles. And it happens at a party, the town of Cana, a wedding, somewhere in Galilee, probably a one-street town where everyone knows everyone, and the families have been planning this event for months. Wine at a wedding in first century Judea was not just a beverage, it was a statement. Running out of wine was a public humiliation that would follow the couple for years. And right in the middle of the feast, the wine runs out. Mary, the mother of Jesus, notices. She goes to her son. She says simply, "They have no wine." That is all. She does not ask for a miracle. She does not explain what she wants done. She just states the fact. And Jesus says something that sounds almost harsh in English. "Woman, what does this have to do with me?" But the Greek word for woman here is asterisk ginai asterisk, the same word a husband used for a wife he deeply respected. It is not a rebuke. It is a recognition of a shift happening in their relationship. And then he says, "My hour has not yet come." Here is what most people miss about this moment. Mary does not argue. She does not explain or push. She turns to the servants and says, "Do whatever he tells you." And that is it. The first recorded miracle of Jesus begins not with a dramatic announcement, not with a crowd, not with a desperate sick person crying out. It begins with a mother who trusts quietly and a son who acts anyway. There are 6 stone water jars sitting nearby. They are used for Jewish purification rites, ritual washing, the kind Pharisees demanded before every meal. They hold between 20 and 30 gallons each. Jesus tells the servants to fill them to the brim. They do. He tells them to draw some out and take it to the master of the feast. And somewhere between the jar and the cup, water becomes wine, not thin wine. The master of the feast calls the bridegroom over and tells him, "You have saved the best wine for last." Everyone serves the good wine first, and when guests have had enough, they bring out the lesser wine. But you have kept the best for last. You will hear that phrase again before this video ends. But right now, notice what Jesus has done. He has solved a problem nobody else could see was happening. He has preserved the dignity of two people who did not even know they needed saving. He has not asked for credit. He has not gathered a crowd and pointed at himself. The master of the feast does not even know where the wine came from. The servants know. His disciples know. And the Bible says quietly that this was the beginning of his signs, and his disciples believed in him. The first miracle of Jesus is about dignity, not power. Dignity. Now, come with me to a hillside in Galilee, and here you will see something that sets your teeth on edge if you have ever been sick a day in your life. A man with leprosy approaches Jesus. In the first century, leprosy was not just a disease. It was a sentence. You were declared unclean by the priest. You wore torn clothing. You covered the lower half of your face. You shouted, "Unclean, unclean," if anyone came near. You could not touch or be touched. You could not enter the city. You could not attend worship. You lived outside the camp, outside the family, outside the community, outside everything it meant to be human for the rest of your life, or until you were healed. And healing was so rare that the ritual for a leper who had been healed required a 2-week ceremony just to verify it and welcome the person back. This man falls on his knees before Jesus. He says, and notice how carefully he says this, "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean." Not if you are able. He does not doubt the power. He doubts the willingness. And who could blame him? He has lived for years as someone the religious system declared too broken to touch, too ruined to be near. Why would the teacher from Nazareth be different? And Jesus, here is where the Greek matters. Jesus is moved with asterisk, splashnizomai asterisk. That is one of the most visceral words in the New Testament. It means compassion that originates in the gut. It means his internal organs responded before his mind gave the order. He is not calculated here. He is not performing. He is moved in his body by what he sees. And then he does the thing nobody in this story could have predicted. He reaches out and he touches the man. He does not have to touch him. He will heal people at a distance later. He will heal people who are not even present. He does not need physical contact to perform a miracle. He touches this man because the man has not been touched by another human being in years, possibly decades. And Jesus gives him what he needs. The physical restoration, yes, but before that, or alongside it, indistinguishable from it, the touch, the human contact, the proof that he is not untouchable anymore. "I am willing, be clean," and the leprosy leaves. Notice the pattern already forming. The first miracle was about dignity given to a couple at a party. This miracle is about dignity restored to a man excluded from everything. Jesus does not just heal the skin condition. He heals the condition of being cut off from humanity. But it gets stranger. Jesus tells the man to tell no one and go show himself to the priest and make the offering Moses commanded. Why? Because the 2-week reinstatement ceremony is the man's legal and social pathway back into the community. Jesus has healed the body. He is now pointing the man toward the system, broken as it is, that will restore the life. And the man goes and tells everyone anyway. He cannot help it, which means Jesus has to withdraw from the towns because of the crowds, and people come to him from everywhere. His generosity creates a logistical problem for himself, and he bears it without complaint. Now, I want to take you to a Roman soldier's house in Capernaum, because here the pattern breaks in a way that should make you stop. A centurion comes to Jesus. This is remarkable on its own. Centurions commanded 80 to 100 soldiers. They were the backbone of the Roman occupying army. They were not, by any definition, the people a Jewish rabbi would expect to encounter. And this centurion comes to Jesus urgently, asking him to heal a servant who is paralyzed and suffering terribly at home. And Jesus says, I will come and heal him. And the centurion says, stop. You don't have to come. Say the word from here, and my servant will be healed. He explains it like a military commander explaining a chain of command. I tell a soldier to go, and he goes. I tell one to come, and he comes. I tell my servant to do something, and it gets done. You have authority over sickness the way I have authority over men. You don't have to be physically present, just speak. Matthew records that Jesus is astonished. The Greek word is asterisk, ethaumasin, asterisk. Jesus is amazed. In the entire gospel, this is one of only 2 moments where Jesus is described as amazed at something. And what amazes him is not a miracle, it is faith. A Roman soldier, not a Jew, not a disciple, not a religious scholar, has understood something about the nature of Jesus' authority that most of his own people have not grasped. And Jesus says to the crowd, truly I tell you, I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith. Then he heals the servant from a distance at that very hour. Here is where the pattern deepens. Every other healing we have looked at involved Jesus being close, in the room, on the road, in the crowd. This one is remote because the centurion's faith was the mechanism, not the proximity. Jesus is not performing miracles based on how close he can get. He is responding to something in the human being in front of him, or in this case, behind him, that has nothing to do with geography. Pay attention to this, because it is going to matter. It is time to talk about the water. There are 2 water miracles in the Gospels, and they sit on opposite ends of the emotional spectrum. And together, they tell you almost everything about what Jesus believed regarding human fear. The first one, the disciples are crossing the Sea of Galilee in the 4th watch of the night. That is between 3 and 6 in the morning, the darkest, coldest hours. A storm comes up. The Sea of Galilee is famous for sudden, violent storms. It sits in a geographic bowl, and wind can funnel down from the hills without warning and turn a calm surface into a chaos of waves within minutes. The boat is being swamped. The disciples, several of whom are professional fishermen who have spent their lives on this water, are terrified. And Jesus is asleep in the stern on a cushion. They wake him up. Don't you care if we drown? He gets up. He rebukes the wind. He says to the waves, asterisk siopa, pefimoso, be silent, be muzzled, and the wind dies immediately, and there is a great calm. The Greek word for the calm is asterisk, galeni megali asterisk, a great total stillness. Not just the wind stopping, everything. The water goes flat. And then Jesus turns to the disciples and asks something that should unsettle you. Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith? They are more afraid after the miracle than before it. Because before, they were afraid of the storm. Now, they are standing in absolute silence on a glassy sea, and they have just watched a man command the weather. Who is this? They ask each other. Even the wind and waves obey him. The second water miracle is different in almost every way. Later in the same gospel, Jesus sends the disciples across the lake while he goes up a mountain alone to pray. Around the 4th watch of the night again, the same hours, notice that, He walks out to them on the water. They see him coming and they are terrified. They think he is a ghost, and he calls out immediately, "Take courage, it is I. Don't be afraid." Peter, being Peter, says, "Lord, if it is really you, tell me to come to you on the water." And Jesus says, "Come." Peter gets out of the boat. He walks on water. Then he looks at the wind and the waves, and he begins to sink. And he cries out, "Lord, save me." And immediately, the Greek word is asterisk, euthios asterisk, immediately, at once, without delay, Jesus reaches out his hand and catches him. "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" Two water miracles. In the first one, Jesus stills the storm with a word while the disciples watch. In the second one, he invites one of them to walk into it with him. In the first, the disciples are passive receivers of rescue. In the second, one of them is an active participant until he looks away from Jesus. Here's the pattern again, pressing deeper now. Jesus does not just rescue people from their circumstances. He invites people into the thing that frightens them when they are ready for it. He is not just a problem solver. He is a trainer. Before we go to the moment that will break you open, and there is a moment in this video that will do exactly that, I need to ask you something. What is the miracle you are waiting for right now? Not the miracle you talk about at Bible study, not the miracle you mention in passing prayer requests. The real one. The one that has been waiting for so long that you have almost stopped calling it a miracle and started calling it impossible. The one where you have been lying on your own mat, so to speak, for so long that you have organized your life around not being healed. Because that is exactly where Jesus is about to walk. If this video is opening something in you, stay with it. Share this with someone who is lying on their own mat tonight. And keep watching, because the miracle we are about to cover is the one that changes how you read everything else. Let me take you back to Bethesda, the pool with 5 colonnades, just north of the Temple Mount. We know this pool now. Archaeologists excavated it in the 19th century, and the remains match John's description precisely. A 2-basin pool with a dam between them, 5 porticos, crowded with people who believed the waters would heal them when stirred. Some manuscripts mention an angel stirring the water, though scholars debate whether that detail was original or added later. What is not debated is the desperation of the people who gathered there. They were there because they had run out of other options. Jesus enters this place on a Sabbath. He does not heal everyone at the pool. He sees one man. The Bible says Jesus saw him lying there and knew he had been in this condition for a long time, 38 years. And he asked the question I told you about at the beginning. Do you want to be well? It sounds simple, but the man does not say yes. He says, "Sir, I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me." He does not answer the question. He explains why recovery is impossible. He has been there so long that his entire understanding of healing has become attached to one mechanism, the pool, and one obstacle, no one to help him. He cannot imagine being well in any other way. He cannot imagine being helped by anyone at all. He has been alone with this for so long that loneliness has become as much his condition as the paralysis. Jesus does not engage the explanation. He does not argue with the man's logic. He does not explain that he, Jesus, is an alternative to the pool. He simply says, "Get up, pick up your mat and walk." And the man gets up and he picks up his mat and he walks after 38 years. Later that day, Jesus finds him in the temple courts and says something remarkable. "See, you are well again. Stop sinning, or something worse may happen to you. Scholars have wrestled with this for centuries. It is not Jesus saying the man's paralysis was punishment for sin. He explicitly denies that framework in the case of the man born blind. But it is Jesus saying that the healing of the body is not the end of the story. There is something deeper at stake. The man's whole life is different now, and what he does with that difference matters. The man goes and tells the Jewish leaders that it was Jesus who healed him. The leaders are furious, not about the miracle, but about the mat. Carrying a mat on the Sabbath was work. Jesus had told a paralyzed man to carry his mat on a Sabbath, which technically violated rabbinic law. And the controversy that follows is one of the longest theological discourses in the Gospel of John. Here is the pattern at the pool. Jesus asks the man what he wants. The man cannot answer directly because he has forgotten what it means to want something good. Jesus asks anyway. And then he finds the man again. He seeks him out after the fact to make sure the miracle goes deeper than the physical. He does not perform the miracle and walk away. He comes back. Now, watch what happens next. There is a category of miracle in the Gospels that we almost never talk about in comfortable churches. Deliverance, casting out demons. And I want to spend some time here because the pattern in these miracles is different enough from the healings to be jarring and similar enough to prove the pattern is real. The synagogue in Capernaum. Jesus is teaching on a Sabbath morning, again a Sabbath, and a man in the congregation cries out in a voice that is not quite his own. "What do you want with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." The demon recognizes Jesus before the congregation does, before the scribes do, before almost anyone does. And Jesus silences it, not with a long incantation, not with ritual tools, with a command, "Be quiet, come out of him." And the spirit convulses the man and comes out with a shriek. What strikes me about this miracle is the contrast. Every other person in the building is listening to Jesus teach. They hear teaching. The demon hears the name of God in terror. There is a whole lecture to be given about what it means that dark spirits recognized Jesus before religious leaders did. But that lecture is not for today. The pattern here, Jesus does not perform an exorcism for the crowd. He does not make the man a demonstration. He silences the spirit, which was trying to use the moment for its own announcement, and he addresses the man himself. In Mark's account, Jesus asks, "What is your name?" He is not asking the demon. He is asking the person underneath. "What is your name? I want to talk to you, not to the thing that has taken up residence in you." In the most famous deliverance account, the man among the tombs at Gerasene, the possessed man is so violent that no one can bind him. He breaks chains. He cuts himself with stones. He lives among the dead, and he runs toward Jesus. Not away, toward. Some part of him, under everything the darkness has done to him, runs toward the one person who can help. And Jesus delivers him, and the man is found afterward sitting, clothed, and in his right mind. The Greek for right mind is asterisk sophronauta asterisk, sound-minded, self-controlled, restored to his own self. He is himself again, and he begs to go with Jesus, and Jesus tells him, "No, go home to your own people and tell them what the Lord has done for you." Jesus sends him back to the community, back into relationship, back into the life the darkness had tried to steal. He is not a trophy. He is not a walking advertisement. He is a man with a family, and Jesus sends him home. Let me bring you now to two dead people, because this is where the pattern reaches its highest stakes, and I do not want you to miss what is happening. The first, a widow's son in the town of Nain. Jesus is approaching the town with his disciples, and a large crowd following him. Coming out of the town gate is a funeral procession. A young man is being carried out on a bier, a funeral stretcher. His mother walks behind him, and Luke records a single detail that should stop you cold. She is a widow. This is her only son. In first century Israelite culture, a widow without a male relative to care for her was not just grieving. She was in danger. Her social safety net, which was already thin, had just been completely removed. She would depend on the charity of neighbors and the mercy of whatever distant relatives might take her in. She is walking behind her son's body weeping, and she is not just mourning a death. She is mourning the end of her security, her future, possibly her ability to survive. Jesus sees her, and Luke uses that same word again, asterisk, splashnizoomai, asterisk. He is moved with gut-level compassion, and he says to her, first, before he does anything to the young man, he says to her, "Don't cry." And then he touches the bier, and the procession stops, and he says, "Young man, I say to you, get up." And the dead man sits up and begins to speak, and Jesus gives him back to his mother. That phrase, Jesus gave him back to his mother, is the only time in the Gospels that precise phrase is used, and it mirrors almost exactly a phrase from 2 Kings when Elisha raises the Shunammite woman's son and gives the boy back to his mother. Luke, writing for a Greek audience steeped in the Hebrew scriptures, is making a deliberate point. Something is happening here that echoes the prophets, something larger than a single miracle on a road outside a small town. Notice the pattern. Jesus sees the mother before he addresses the son. He speaks to her grief before he moves on the miracle. He is not just raising the dead. He is restoring a family. He is giving back what was taken. And here is the part nobody tells you. There is a second resurrection before the final one. And this one is so famous that we have lost the ability to be broken open by it. But I want to try. Lazarus. Jesus receives word that Lazarus, his friend, the brother of Mary and Martha, the man whose home in Bethany was apparently where Jesus stayed when he was near Jerusalem, is sick. And Jesus stays where he is for 2 more days. He does not rush. He waits. By the time he arrives, Lazarus has been in the tomb for 4 days. Martha comes out to meet Jesus while he is still on the road. She says, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now, God will give you whatever you ask." It is a sentence held together by grief and faith in almost equal measure. And Jesus makes her the stunning promise: your brother will rise again. Martha, like a good Jewish woman who knows her theology, says yes, in the resurrection at the last day. And Jesus says, "I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die." Do you believe this? She says yes, and she goes to get Mary. Mary comes to Jesus and falls at his feet. She says the same words as Martha. "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." And then the text says, she was weeping, and the mourners who had come with her were weeping, and Jesus, standing there, knowing exactly what he is about to do, knowing that in a matter of minutes, this entire situation will be reversed, sees their grief. And the Spirit groans in him. The Greek is asterisk embrymaomai asterisk. It means to be deeply moved, to snort with emotion, almost animal in its intensity. He is troubled. He is stirred in a way words barely contain. And then the shortest verse in the Bible, Jesus wept. 2 words, in some translations, 11 letters. And theologians have argued for centuries about why. He knows Lazarus is about to be raised. He knows in 4 minutes this will all be different. So why does he weep? I think, and this is not doctrine, this is not a seminary conclusion, this is just what I see when I read this slowly. I think he weeps because grief is real, because death is an enemy. And even when you are the one who has come to destroy it, you still feel its wrongness. Because the people he loves are in pain right now, in this moment. And the love that drove him to wait 2 extra days so the miracle would be undeniable is the same love that breaks open at the sight of Mary on the ground. He does not weep because the situation is hopeless. He weeps because love always mourns what death takes, even temporarily. They take him to the tomb. He tells them to remove the stone. Martha protests. There will be an odor. He has been there 4 days. Jesus says, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" They remove the stone. Jesus looks up and prays aloud. Not because he needs to pray aloud, but because he wants the people around him to understand that what is about to happen comes from the Father. And then he calls in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." And the dead man comes out. He is still wrapped in burial cloths, his face bound with a cloth, shuffling forward in his grave wrappings. And Jesus says to the people standing there, "Unbind him, let him go. Unbind him, let him go." The miracle does not end when the person comes back to life. It ends when the community unwraps him, when the people around him participate in his freedom. Jesus raises the dead, and then he gives the living something to do. Now, I need to bring you back to something I said at the beginning. The wine at Cana. The bridegroom saved the best for last, because there is one more miracle, and it is not in the middle of a crowd. It is not by a pool or in a synagogue or on a road. It is private and quiet, and it happens to a group of exhausted men who have given up and gone back to fishing because the person they had given everything to follow had died and been buried, and whatever they had thought was going to happen had not happened. The disciple Thomas, who had said he would not believe unless he put his hand in the wounds. Peter, who had denied knowing Jesus 3 times over a charcoal fire. John, who had stood at the cross. James, Nathaniel, 2 others. 7 men in a boat on the Sea of Galilee at night, and they have caught nothing. Not a single fish after a whole night of work. And at dawn, a figure stands on the shore. They do not recognize him. He calls out, "Friends, have you any fish?" And they say no. And he says, "Cast the net on the right side of the boat." And they do. And the net fills so full they cannot haul it in. And John says to Peter, "It is the Lord." And Peter jumps into the water. That is so. Peter, it almost makes you laugh and cry at the same time. When they reach the shore, Jesus has already built a charcoal fire. There is fish on the fire. There is bread. He says, "Come and have breakfast." This is the risen Lord of the universe, who has conquered death, who holds the keys of Hades and death, who will shortly ascend to the right hand of the Father. And he is making breakfast on the beach. He serves them. He feeds them. And after breakfast, beside that charcoal fire, the same kind of fire where Peter had denied him 3 times, Jesus turns to Peter and asks him 3 times, "Do you love me?" And each time Peter says yes, Jesus gives him something to do. Feed my lambs, tend my sheep, feed my sheep. He does not recite Peter's failures. He does not require confession first. He meets Peter in the place of the wound, the charcoal fire, and he restores him, not by ignoring what happened, but by replacing it with something new. 3 denials, 3 commissions, The wound becomes the calling. And this is the last recorded miracle of John. A breakfast on the beach, fish, bread, a quiet question, a restored man. The best wine, saved for last. Here is what we have seen. At Cana, Jesus preserves the dignity of people who did not know they needed him. He touches the untouchable leper. He heals at a distance when faith is the mechanism. He stills storms and invites disciples to walk through them. He asks a man who has forgotten how to want things whether he wants to be well. He silences the thing that has stolen a man's name and gives the man his name back. He sees a widow's grief before he raises her son. He weeps beside a tomb he is about to empty, and he makes breakfast on the beach for the man who denied him. You see the pattern now. Every miracle Jesus performed is addressed to a person, not a condition. The condition is the occasion. The person is the point. Here is what this means for you. The first takeaway is this: Jesus always sees the person behind the need. He does not categorize people by their condition. He does not see a leper or a paralytic or a widow or a fisherman. He sees a name. He sees a history. He sees someone who needs more than what is visible on the surface, and he gives them that first. The second takeaway is this: faith in these miracles is not the absence of doubt. Martha doubted and believed at the same time. Peter sank and was still pulled up. The man at Bethesda could not even answer the question correctly and was healed anyway. Faith in the Gospels is not a perfect internal state. It is turning toward Jesus, imperfectly, brokenly, wetly, desperately, and letting him do what you cannot do yourself. And the third takeaway, the one I want you to carry out of this video, is this. You might be lying on your mat right now. You might have been there for a long time, long enough that you have organized your life around not getting up, long enough that when someone asks if you want to be well, you answer with a list of reasons it is impossible. And the thing I want to say to you, the thing I believe these miracles are collectively saying, is that Jesus walks into crowds of needy people and he stops in front of you. He sees you, not your condition, you. And he asks the question that has been hanging in the air since the beginning of this video. Do you want to be well? Not, do you have enough faith? Not, have you been good enough? Not, can you get yourself to the pool before someone cuts in front of you? Just this. Do you want to be well? Because if you do, even barely, even imperfectly, even with 38 years of reasons why it cannot happen, he is already standing in front of you. Which miracle in this video hit you hardest? Tell me in the comments, because I think your answer says something about where you are right now, and I want to know. If this opens something in you, share it with someone who is still in the waiting. And if you have not yet, subscribe, because there is so much more to look at together. The best wine is always saved for last.